Hi there. I am so excited to introduce you to Dayna Johnson. Hi, Dayna.
Hi, Candace.
Now, Dayna and I have over 3 decades of experience in the dental field. And I would have to say probably more than half of my career, I've been using Dentrix. Now, although I consider that I'm a pretty experienced Dentrix user, I think Dayna is the Dentrix guru. So
Well,
thank you. You're like, thank you, thank you. Thanks so much for taking the time to do this today, by the way.
yeah, absolutely. When you asked me and you told me what the topic was, it's like, oh yeah, totally. That's my jam right there.
Yes, it's an important topic. And before we jump into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and about your company, Novonee?
Great. Yeah. So, you kind of dated me when you said that we had like 30 years of experience in the dental industry. But, I started using Dentrix actually as a Dentrix user first in, like 2003, I guess. And, what I found was when I first started using Dentrix, I didn't get a lot of training, so I didn't know really how it worked. I knew that if I was going to use the software to the fullest capabilities, I needed to learn everything about it. And so in 2005, I was in the state of Washington at the time, and they were looking for Dentrix trainers up there. And so I thought, well, what better way for me to learn more about the software than to become certified? So I became a certified trainer, not really thinking that I would actually go out and train, but I started training and I absolutely loved it. I loved helping practices optimize their software and learn best practices, and it really turned into an amazing career, and so I became the national blogger for Dentrix for several years, and then what I found was I still wanted to reach more people. I knew that there were 40,000 Dentrix users in the world, and how could I reach more people? And so that's when I launched Novonee. And so Novonee is an online community. We do on-demand and live webinars. We have a resource page for Dentrix users. And, so where we're a little bit different than support is great at kind of telling you how to do something in Dentrix, and they can help with, any kind of issues that might come up, or if you need an update. But where we come into play is more about the why. Why would you do it that way? Or and best practices. What is the best way that you can use Dentrix in your practice and optimize it, for the uniqueness of your practice? And that's really where Novonee came into play. And now we're doing user meetings all over the country, and it's really exploded because there's so many people out there that need resources, and we're just one of the many resources out there for Dentrix users.
That is amazing because, as you and I both know, Dentrix is one of the leading softwares out there, along with Open Dental and EagleSoft. But it's shocking to me how many people have it but don't use it to its fullest capability and don't even know how to. So that's why I think your company and you and what you do is so vital to the industry, because it's an expensive software, and so they're wasting their money if they're not using it correctly.
Exactly. And that's usually when a doctor reaches out to me or I hear that they're thinking about switching software, I just ask them, give me 10 minutes of your time, and so I can at least answer your questions. And because I can almost guarantee you, if I at least start asking more questions, I can help them solve what they're looking for. A lot of times they switch softwares because they think their current software can't do what they need it to do. And you just have to keep asking more questions. And that's where we're really good at, is discovery. Really finding out how you want to use the software, what do you want to do with it, what's going to be the best practice for you. And because not every dental practice is the same, you can't take, the square peg and shove it into a round hole and think it's going to work. And, so that's kind of where we're really good at those discovery questions.
Yes, that's great. Okay, so as far as month end, why do you think that practice management softwares included a feature of closing your months? What's the importance of that?
Well, there's lots of reasons. First and foremost is security. And, doctors need to remember that this is their livelihood. And, they need to be able to have security measures in place so that they can protect their livelihood, protect their business. And, people get so frustrated with, passwords and logins and all this stuff. And it's like, it's there to protect you. Month end is there to protect you. And that's why it was put into place. It's there to, preserve the integrity of the software, preserve the integrity of your patient data, and it's there to protect you in case of an emergency and in case of a security breach. It's there to protect your livelihood. And that's why month-end process was put into place.
Okay. Now, when you and I chatted the other day, I expressed my concern and frustration that a lot of my clients, the most important thing for me to help them with, and the most important thing for any business owner, is to know their numbers. And when you do not close your months and do month end, correct me if I'm wrong, but what happens is it doesn't age your accounts receivable. So you really have no idea of how old money that is owed to you is. Is that correct?
Kind of, yes. Yes, in the fact that running the month-end process, part of that process is aging the accounts. And so, if you send out billing statements or you're looking at the patient ledger, then there's an aging section on the statement or on the patient ledger. Mm-hmm. However, in the Dentrix world, we do have reports that we can see where it will age the accounts based on the transaction date, not necessarily on the month-end process. So we do have ways of seeing the aging of the accounts, regardless of whether they've run month-end, which is nice. But I do agree with you that that's not a reason not to run month-end. And
yeah.
But yeah, part of the month-end process in Dentrix is aging the accounts.
Yes, and that's what I want to help them with. I want to try and get back the money that is owed to them that is old. And in order for me to do that, I need to find out where everything is at and where the accounts receivable and all of the accounts, in addition to outstanding insurance claims, that type of thing. And the number one reason why dentists are hesitant and do not want to do month end, this is what they tell me. Mm-hmm. They say because we have not finished our clinical notes yet. And
I hear that a lot.
Yes, they want to be able to edit their clinical notes, and I'm not quite understanding, I guess, like back in the old days when we had physical charts and they were responsible to write up their charts, and if they made an error, they had to put a line through it. And with softwares now and computers, they have an option to edit the note, but after month end is done, they have to do an addendum where they can't just edit the note. So that's what I think is their biggest fear. And maybe you can address that now that we know that also Dentrix has a workaround around that. But I want you to also explain the necessity of doing their clinical notes and having them saved and signed and completed.
Yeah, well, exactly what you said. I mean, back in the day when we still had paper charts, and, I was talking to a doctor last night that still is using paper charts. So it's not that they're gone yet, but back in the day when we only had paper charts. You're right. We would write up our note, and they had an opportunity the clinical team had an opportunity to make edits to the note. And if you're correct, if they made a mistake, if they wrote the note in the wrong chart, or they made a mistake on the anesthetic, they would have to put a line through it and make the correction. It's not like we wrote in pencil in our paper charts, so we
and then erased it. Yeah.
couldn't erase it and rewrite it. That was doctors would be mortified if we wrote in pencil in our paper charts. Well, that's kind of what we're thinking. If you have the opportunity to edit a note, a clinical note in your computer, and you're able to delete it and erase it, then it's like you're writing in pencil in your clinical note, which is completely not what we learned in dental school. And not that I went to dental school, but that's not what they're taught in dental school. They're taught that they write in pen, blue pen, which is what they're taught. And if they make a correction, if they need to make a correction, they cross it out, they initial it, and they make that correction. Well, we have to do the same process with our computer. You write in pen, which you're typing in your clinical note, or using a template or some sort of template in your clinical note, and then you lock up the clinical note just as if you're writing in pen. So you either sign the note, or you let the month-end process lock up your notes. And then if you make a mistake, you do an addendum. It's just like our paper charts. If you make a mistake, you have to initial it, cross it out, or whatever. So the process shouldn't be any different. And so I'm just amazed that doctors would put their license at risk for being able to edit or delete a clinical note. And that just blows my mind that they would put their livelihood and the livelihood of their team at risk, because they don't want to do an addendum, which is just silly. I mean, an addendum is no big deal. You just do an addendum and you sign it, and it's corrects the clinical record. That's what is more legal than deleting the note or erasing the note and redoing it. So yeah, it just blows my mind that they've changed the process now that we have computers.
Yes, I think that they tell me that they're in fear of getting audited, and an addendum, I think they think looks more suspicious.
No, absolutely not. That's what the addendum is there for, is to protect them. If they edit the note, then now there's a trail that note was edited, and there's also a trail if they delete the note. So, you have the addendum is more secure, is better if you do the addendum.
Okay, got you. Are you saying that when there's a trail, there's not a trail if you don't do your month end and you just do edits here and there, or is there still a trail with just editing?
Right. Yeah. Because if you write up a note, then it has a date, that the date the date you wrote the note. If you backdate a note, then trail if you backdated it. And if you deleted the note, there's a trail for, so there's a trail for everything. And, so if it's kind of like, when the FBI confiscates a laptop computer and they're able to look at the history, able to see that history. And, so an addendum is always better, always better.
Okay, got you. So my goal for today is to hopefully kind of change the way these doctors are thinking and eliminate the fear of doing month ends. And you mentioned earlier about putting on the line, jeopardizing their livelihood.
Mm-hmm.
Have you, in your experience, Dayna, have you seen anything happen where, I don't know, they get fined or sued, or not sued, but fined, or their license is in jeopardy?
Absolutely. Yeah. I had a doctor up in the state of Washington that was audited and based on clinical notes that they were not documenting correctly in their clinical note, and they were audited. They had to pay back hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh boy.
It's not, I mean, it's not uncommon to be audited by an insurance company. And if your clinical notes don't match what you've billed out, or if your clinical note is missing information, they can say, well, this is an illegitimate, billing or illegitimate procedure. It doesn't have the information that we need, or your clinical note doesn't match what you've billed, or whatever it might be. And, so I have seen a couple of doctors be audited by insurance companies and have to repay back claims because the insurance company was not satisfied with the clinical documentation.
Oh boy. No bueno.
I know. Yeah.
So Dentrix, you mentioned in version G point, is it 6.6 or 6.5 you said?
Yeah, I think it was 6.5 plus. So it was
okay.
It was in 6.5 when the month end process changed.
And what changes did they make? Because I think a lot of offices are not aware of this. I'm excited.
I agree. I know, I agree with you. So back in the day, prior to 6.5, the month end process used to be all one process. So we would have to get everybody out of Dentrix. We would have to, tell everybody, no getting into Dentrix, I'm running month end. And there would be 5 things that would all run at the same time. We would lock up the ledger history. It would reset the insurance benefits. It would move the ending AR balance from the current month into the beginning AR balance of the new month. It would age the accounts, and it would lock up the clinical notes. So it used to do all 5 of those things all at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think that is why a lot of offices never ran month end, is because, like the office manager, she's like, I don't want to lock up my ledger because what if I need to change something? And it's like, that's what I'm talking about. You are putting your doctor's license at risk if you are backdating or you are changing things on the ledger, so there's risk involved anytime you don't lock up the ledger, lock up the clinical notes, and so back in the day, Dentrix used to do all 5 of those things. And so there was reluctancy to do the month-end process just because it was a hassle. And so then in 6.5, they changed all that, and they separated all those things apart. And the better part is that you don't have to get everybody out of Dentrix, which is awesome.
Oh, great.
I know. So now those 5 things are now all individual processes, and they all run in the background, so you don't have to really worry about it. And, so the doctor can decide, okay, I'm willing to lock up my clinical notes, after a month, or, okay, if they want to keep them open for 2 months, whatever they want to do, they could lock them up, whenever they want. And then the ledger history, you can decide when you want the ledger history to be closed out. And, if you want to reset the insurance benefits, so they're all now separate processes that you get to decide when they run, how often they run. And so it's just a much better process for the office, but it still will, preserve that integrity of the data.
Okay, this is great news because, like I said, I don't think many offices know that Dentrix changed the month-end process and that they do have the options of what to close and what to put into history.
Yeah.
In closing with this conversation, I'm hoping that dentists are more apt to do month-end, but if they are not, about the clinical notes, I'm still hoping that they do reset the maximum and deductibles because that is so crucial for the front
Mhm.
desk to do accurate treatment estimates. And it just all snowballs if you aren't presenting as accurately as you can a treatment estimate, and then you have to bill the patient for an additional copayment. They don't like that. They are not happy, and so this all affects their bottom line and their collections. So
Yeah. The month end affects a lot of things. If the doctor wants to get accurate reports,
yes,
you have to be able to show that the accounts receivable, the ending balance of the accounts receivable has moved into the beginning balance of the new month. And I mean, it's all an audit process, and, there's so many doctors that, have some form of embezzlement going on in their practice. And, that's a whole nother topic.
yeah,
If you're not running the month end process, you're not only putting your license at risk, but you're also putting your livelihood at risk because it's easier for someone to, maybe embezzle on you if you are not putting those processes in place. So, there's lots of things, and doctors just seem to want to put their head in the sand and not look at it. And it's like, well, it's your business, and if you're willing to take that risk, then I'm okay with that, and I'm just telling you, as your consultant or as your coach or as your trainer, that this is my recommendation. And if you choose to ignore my recommendations and put your head in the sand, then that's your issue. And if you get audited or you get embezzled on or you have some kind of issue, that's a risk that you're taking.
yes. I agree because as a consultant too, going into an office and trying to do an aging report, and as I mentioned, or even I don't think it affects the insurance aging report, does it? No, but definitely the AR report, it does.
Yeah, and there's different. If you're looking at the aging report, then the month end has a significant effect on the aging report. And the month end has implications on a few different reports in Dentrix.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, because you're going to get different numbers on different reports if you're not running month end. So, a lot of times doctors reach out to me and they're like, these numbers are not matching on these reports. And, the first thing I do is see if they're up to date on their month end. That's like number one is, are you up to date on month end? Because there's reports in Dentrix that rely on month end, and there's reports in Dentrix that don't rely on month end. And so if they're seeing different numbers on different reports, that's usually why.
Yep, that's the culprit.
Usually.
Any final words to these dentists out there?
Well, I did a quick YouTube video about month end. So if they want to, just get a snippet, 4 or 5 minute, a little preview about the month end task scheduler and how it should be set up, they can go to my YouTube page and watch my quick YouTube video. So that's a really quick way to get information. If they are interested in training or more resources, then they can reach out to me directly. But I think the most important thing is knowing what version of Dentrix you're on, and then what are the features that are included in that update. Because you update to the newest version of Dentrix, and then you're like, I don't know what's included in it. And ignorance is not a excuse.
Yeah, ignorance is not bliss. Yeah.
No, it is not. And you know, I don't take excuses like that, because it's just, you know, there's not making the effort to learn about it.
I will put this in the comments, but do you have a YouTube channel? Is it your
Yeah,
name?
Novonee community.
Okay.
Or they could also search my name too. There, it'll kind of drive to the same place.
And if they do want to learn more about your services, I know that they can go to the Novonee website,
Yeah.
but also is emailing you best or to get a hold of you?
Either way, if they go to my website, I do have live chat. They can chat with my team on my website, or they can email me directly, Dayna, and it's Dayna with a Y, Dayna at novonee.com. So either way,
Okay,
they'll get
perfect.
in touch with me. I'm pretty easy to find.
Yay, I know. Thank goodness, because you're definitely in demand and needed in this industry. So thanks so much again, Dayna, for taking the time and explaining the importance of month end. As I mentioned, my goal is I'm hoping that dentists are now, their fears are kind of decreased and that they are on board to do month end and even year end, their year end process. So
Good. Well, I appreciate it.
Thanks so much, and happy holidays to you, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you, Candace. It was great.
All right, thank you, Dayna. Take care.